Hello there everybody, welcome back to another ranking video, and today we're going to be doing the Scream series.
Yeah, you're going to love this one. It's a Scream, baby.
Now, we have just had the latest addition to this franchise in Scream 7 hit cinemas, and I have just reviewed every single Scream movie, including Scream 7, leading up to this video. So if you want to go and check all them out, I'll leave it in the link down below, guys. Also, if you want more rankings, I'll leave them in the link down below as well. Now, just a heads up, I am not going to get into spoilers here for Scream 7. So if you haven't seen that film yet, you are safe. But I may touch on spoilers for the other movies that have been out a few years now. Some of them 30 years. You know, it's a 30-year-long franchise this since the original hit. So just bear that in mind going in. So let's get into it now. In 7th place. In 7th place, we do have Scream 3. Now, I know this is bottom of the ranking, guys, but this is still a pretty solid film, and I don't dislike it, even though it's bottom. It's still a good 3 out of 5 movie to me. I think this is a very perfectly well-paced Scream film. I like the direction it goes in by sort of going to Hollywood there on the set of Stab 3. It feels even more self-aware. If the other two didn't even feel self-aware already, it's fun to see the real-life characters like Dewey and Gale being played by other actresses and interacting with the real-life versions of themselves on set and not really getting on and stuff. Just a real fun way of doing this movie, really. There's some, standard kills that we usually get in the Scream movies that aren't all great in this one. I believe there was the Columbine Massacre kind of held this back a little bit from being a bit gory, but it still suffices in the kill department. I think it's got a good opening, killing off a very strong character in these movies, or an important cog, should I say, to the story, which really fits with the whole Maureen Prescott angle this is going for, because Cotton Weary was the biggest link to Maureen Prescott, and I like how we explore her life in this movie. I'm not really, some people aren't really a fan of origin stories, but I really appreciated that, learning more about this character that set the wheels in motion for these Scream movies, and Sidney trying to deal with all that. However, the movie is a little bit goofy. Now, there are moments where Jane, Silent and Bob are walking past on the Miramax site. There's a moment where we're talking to Carrie Fisher, and she says, "Oh, I'm not the real Carrie Fisher. I just look like her. The real Carrie Fisher got the job for sleeping with George Lucas." And it's like, are we really meant to believe that this is Carrie Fisher's lookalike or something? Yeah, I just didn't like all that, really. It goes a little bit too comedic and doesn't quite land. Also, the reveal in this movie really does piss me off. It's not the only Scream movie that's done this, but Roman is the killer in this film, and he's basically dead. We see him dead in that coffin, and 10 minutes later, it's revealed that he is the Ghostface killer. I really think the movie cheats the audience there, and I don't like that whatsoever. The fun of these Scream movies is trying to find out or see if you can guess who the killer is. It's a whodunit film, and it basically just pulls that away from you. However, it makes up for it by having a great motive for Roman, being the neglected child of Maureen Prescott, playing into the whole storyline. It's a really well-written script, this one. It really is, despite its goofiness. So, even though it's last, I don't dislike it, guys. It's still a solid film. So that is Scream 3. Next up, we have Scream 2022, or Scream 5. Or Scream. There's 3 different titles there you can use there, I suppose, isn't there? But this one, after about, 11 years since Scream 4, we finally got a new Scream film. And this is the first movie in the franchise that was directed by somebody else, Radio Silence, instead of Wes Craven, after he sadly passed away after making his last film in Scream 4. And they promised a script that Wes will be proud of, and it's so good, this script, that they can't not make the movie. And what I will say is, it's still a solid Scream film. There's a lot going on for this movie here. There's some great moments, especially when Sheriff Judy is trying to get to his son there. One of the best Scream moments I've seen in all this franchise.
Please, I'll do anything.
You're not gonna make it in time, Sheriff Judy.
There's some gore that's amped up, and killing off Dewey was a ballsy move. Great opening once again. I like the introduction of these new characters, Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega. Really feel solid together there, even though they've sort of been distanced from each other for a bit, but they're making it up now, and they're kind of like that, the Carpenter sisters. All the new characters I like, you know, with Mindy and her brother there, and they bring the legacy characters back to basically be teachers to these characters, or just kind of look out for them. They're kind of in the background there, and the movie is trying to say we're going to move forward with these characters while not trying to forget these characters too much. So they get the balance very right there. My biggest problem with it is, even though they promised that this was an amazing script and something Wes would be really proud of, and I'm sure he would have liked this film, it just feels very safe. Like, it's just a standard Scream film, even though it does get a lot right there. It doesn't take too many risks. It hasn't really got too many balls there, apart from killing Dewey off. But still a solid entry into this chapter. I really do like the killers in here, Amber and Richie. You know, the motive's a little bit lame, but I really like how the movie plays out, where he kind of had to get Melissa Barrera to Woodsboro by sort of almost killing her sister. I thought that was really well done. So Scream 2022, it's not a bad movie. It's just very meh, put it that way. It's a standard Scream film that doesn't do too much out there, but still solid and still very enjoyable. Next up, we have Scream 6. Now, I must admit, guys, this is one that was quite higher on my list until I rewatched these films. It did move down a little bit there, but this is still solid. I really love the opening of this film, and I really thought it was going to take Scream in a direction that I've always wanted to go in, where we kind of know the identity of the Ghostface killer. Didn't quite do that after the opening, but still a very great opening with Samara Weaving's kind of killed off Drew Barrymore-esque there, because I thought you were going to have a much bigger part in this movie. But after that, this movie contains some of the best set pieces in any Scream film. Really uses New York to its advantage to do those set pieces. You've got Ghostface trying to kill people in a liquor store, and he's got a shotgun and everything. Some people didn't really like that, but I did. I thought it was awesome, because a lot of the kills in this movie are just standard stab kills, aren't they? But we also have the sequence where Mindy's on the train and the tension is building and building as the lights flicker on and off. Really love that directed scene. And also we do have that ladder scene going across the two apartments, again using New York to its advantage, where Ghostface just throws that Mindy's girlfriend off the ladder there. You know, just really awesome setups using the location to its advantage. Really like how we have this dynamic with the Carpenter sisters, where they're not quite on the same page, because Jenna Ortega's character wants to live her life, and Melissa Barrera's character is trying to be overprotective of her, but they really do meet in the middle to take out one of the Ghostface killers at the end, Ethan, and man, what a kill that is. It's just got a lot going for it in that first hour and 20 minutes. It's a really enjoyable paced movie. It's the reveal where this falls off a cliff, unfortunately. This is the most Scooby-Doo sort of reveal I've seen, where they have this family of killers. There's 3 Ghostface killers in this one. 5 altogether if you want to, include the 2 at the start, but mainly 3 Ghostface killers for that reveal. And it just feels very cartoonish and animated. I don't think Ethan is a great Ghostface whatsoever. When he's trying to be this psychopath and very sinister, it's just so laughable on screen. I predicted that the guy who's the cop, the lead detective, was going to be the killer. I never really guessed killers in these movies, but I got that one spot on straight away. Yeah, and Quinn, again, is kind of like Roman, where it cheats the audience. She's dead half an hour into this movie, and then she's there. I don't like that whatsoever. So it's one of the longest reveals as well. It seems to go on forever. Really did not like that about the movie. However, still a very great Scream movie, and one that has a little bit of a different shake-up being in New York and everything there. So still solid. Just fell down the pecking order for me a little bit on these rewatches. Next up, we have the new kid on the block, Scream 7. Now, I will admit, guys, I feel like this one could maybe move up on rewatch. I've seen a lot of hate for this movie, and I've seen a lot of people liking it. I am definitely more on the liking of it side, but I do see some of the problems people have with it. However, for me, going to the cinema on opening night was just a joy, and I was fully entertained throughout this entire film. If I really wanted to put my critic head on, which I probably should, it's my movie channel, I could probably pick it apart even more, but I kind of refrained from doing that because I came out with a grin on my face. I really enjoyed this film and what they did here. It had a ton of controversy behind it, of course, with Melissa Barrera and Jenna Ortega being fired or let go, whatever you want to call it. Bringing Sydney back, and it's kind of dangling the carrot saying, look, Scream fans, we've got Sydney back. And then they were going to bring back some killers who've died and everything. It just felt like a bit of desperation. But for me, this movie worked. Now, the main focus is Sydney here, so it kind of feels warranted. That they brought her back because the main focus is on her and her daughter, who Tatum is a great character. I really did think she was a solid addition to this franchise, and I hope we see moving forward, which I'm guessing that we're going to be getting because it's doing bank at the box office and Scream 8. There's already high rumours that one is going to come. But, Sydney is kind of laid back in this movie, kind of like she was in Scream 5, but her buttons are pressed when this Ghostface killer comes after her family, i.e. her daughter and husband. So, the stakes are raised a little bit there. But what I really liked about Scream 7 more than anything, and I've seen people call this more like another formulaic Scream film. I don't think that at all. I think this movie kind of throws you off here and there with what it's trying to do with the past killers and everything. I'm going to try my best not to get into spoilers here, guys, like I promised. But it's common knowledge that Matthew Lillard was coming back and other Ghostface cast members who've been killed and everything, they're all coming back. And when these things sort of happen, I was sitting in my seat going, is this really happening right now? Oh my God, I absolutely loved it when that first moment hit and what they did with bringing these characters back. It totally worked for me. And I like the way it plays on all this nostalgia. Like, the opening scene basically says, this is going to be a nostalgic trip for older Scream fans, but younger fans are going to enjoy it as well. But me, as a 37-year-old male who was there for Scream when it first come out, following this guy in the opening scene through this Stumacher house, and it's like this Scream Ghostface museum, I was that guy in that movie. I was just walking around, using him as the vessel, going, wow, look at all this. Remember this? Remember that TV that fell on Stu's head there? Great opening. And it basically plays on the nostalgic approach. Nostalgia for us people, guys, for us oldies, it's one of the best things in life when you get older, when you look back on things. So really like that approach to it. My biggest problem, guys, is that this movie has a bad reveal, and the more I thought about it, the more I appreciated the way it was written in it a little bit, but it's still a bad reveal. It's not a great one. It's kind of on the level of Scream 6 with it being cartoonish and everything, but I can kind of look past it because when you look back at the movie and think about it, the way that's written in there kind of worked a little bit there. But also there are some dumb horror traits in this movie, like two characters will take Ghostface out, and Ghostface is only across the room on the floor. They look at each other and then they look back. After 1 second, the Ghostface is gone. It's like, come on, are we really meant to believe that? Other characters seem to transport into certain situations. Like, characters are running away, they've left a character behind, and then that character will just appear next to them, fully injured and everything. So yeah, some of the writing there to get certain characters into certain scenarios didn't quite work for me. But overall, guys, I really enjoyed this one, and I'm really looking forward to watching it again. Coming up next, guys, we do have Scream 2. Now, this was below Scream 6 for me on my last outing with all these movies, but on rewatch, this has moved up above Scream 6. This is a very, very solid sequel, which that is what it plays on, the whole sequel thing.
Because let's face it, baby, these days, you gotta have a sequel.
We've got Randy saying the body count should always be bigger, the deaths should be much more elaborate, and that's exactly what this movie does. There are way more deaths in this movie. It's not as good as Scream 1, obviously. That's why it's third in this ranking, but it does a lot right. A very, very well-paced Scream movie that takes place on a college campus this time, and it seemed like a lot of horror movies were doing that back in the day, like The Faculty, Halloween H2O. That was just a setting for the late 90s now, and it totally just works for that. Because there's a lot of characters in this school and everything, and you kind of don't know who's going to be the killer and everything like that. But It's got a great reveal with Mickey and Mrs. Loomis. Really like the motives. Mickey just wants to be famous, and Mrs. Loomis wants revenge for their son. You know, and they're two great psychopathic killers in that third act. They really do go off the rails. Got some great scenarios in here where Sydney and her friend are climbing over Ghostface after he's been knocked out in that car. So for me, I just think I've always liked this movie. You know, it is a bit of a standard Scream movie. It doesn't do too much out there, but what it does do, it gets right a hell of a lot. One moment for me though that I hated, and it's one of the worst horror movie scenes in any horror movie I've seen, is that Jerry O'Connell dance scene. Now, stop it. Jerry O'Connell, come on. I think he since apologised for this and said, sorry if it's a bit cringe. I should have had singing lessons going into this. It is a very cringy scene, and I kind of had to look at it with one eye open, just going, oh no, can we get past this? You should only really be watching horror movies with one eye open when you're scared, not because you're cringed out. But also, I just want to mention as well, what a great opening we have here in the cinema, where I can imagine people back in 1997 watching this and kind of mirroring themselves in the cinema. I don't think the cinema would have been as hectic as it was in this movie, but that just looks like my worst nightmare. However, it's fun to watch in the film. So yeah, Scream 2, very solid. And it does play on the whole copycat killer thing because they're killing characters who had the same names as the victims in the first film as well. So fun little angle to go on there as well. So that is Scream 2. Next up, we have Scream 4. Now, I've seen a few people in the past slate this movie and say it's easily the worst Scream movie, just behind 3 or even worse than 3. I don't agree with that at all. I have always loved Scream 4. Now, this one is a little bit more comedic than the other movies, and that works for me. I usually like just pure horror in my movies, but these Scream films have always had a little bit of a fun, entertaining angle anyway, and this one delves more into the comedic tone, but it totally works. There's so many funny scenes in this movie, like where the cop's being killed, and he kind of wishes he was Bruce Willis, and after he's killed, he goes, fuck Bruce Willis. Also, there's a rule in this movie that if you're gay, you might survive, and Robbie, the cameraman, is killed in this movie, and just before he's killed, he says to Ghostface, please don't, I'm gay. Absolutely love all that. You know, just such a funny moment that characters are saying when they shouldn't really be killed, but it kind of just works with the tone. I don't know, people probably don't like that, but for me, I do.
I'm gay. I'm gay. I mean, if it helps.
Now, this has got one of the hardest Ghostface reveals to predict in any of these movies, because this film sees Sidney Prescott coming back to Woodsboro on the anniversary of what happened in the first Scream film to do a book signing, with Ghostface that plays into his hands, and basically starts killing people off while Sydney's in town, and she's got to protect her daughter Jill, kind of like she had to protect her, not her daughter, sorry, her niece Jill, kind of like she had to protect her daughter in Scream 7, she's got to protect her niece here. And why this is one of the hardest reveals is because I never in a million years seen Jill be this Ghostface character. It just, when she took that mask off, I was like, holy shit, very well played. They've done so well to throw you off in this movie, because it does feel like the stakes are raised where Sydney is doing everything she can to protect Jill. And it's got one of the greatest motives out there where Jill has been so jealous of Sydney and she just turns into an absolute lunatic. Definitely my top 3 Ghostface characters here, I think. Just really love how she goes so psychotic, and she's like, I had to kill my mum for this, but that was no great loss. And it's like, wow, what a bitch. And then she's just throwing herself around this living room to get all these injuries and everything. I'm like, man, this bitch is crazy. And then we have that whole hospital scene where she's trying to kill everyone. I love Jill as Ghostface. I mean, not too much Charlie Walker. It was basically used by her, but that just shows how sinister she is. She'll just use him and get rid of him for the fame that she wants. So for me, Scream 4, very, very solid. My biggest negative with it is the opening. I think it's got the weakest opening, to be honest, in all of these Scream films, the fake out thing. But still a great film, and I really enjoy Scream 4 every single time I watch it. So that is in second place, my favourite Scream sequel. In first place though, guys, no surprises here, is going to be Scream from 1996, the OG. Now, this is a film that basically changed horror, really. I think slashers were kind of Going downhill a little bit after the 80s, there were still some solid slashes, but it just wasn't as prevalent as it was in the 80s, and this kind of brought it back with the whole self-awareness, the whole meta angle it had, basically telling us the rules of slasher movies and horror movies coming out of Randy's mouth, which is just a genius scene there. And it kind of plays on its own fun, if you like. It's a movie that just wants to have fun and have so much entertainment value. Every time I go back to this movie, I'm locked in. It flies by. It's paced so well. A lot of these movies are, but this one, it's over by the time you can sort of think, oh man, I wish it wasn't over. Now, we've got a great opening here. Drew Barrymore on all the posters. She's killed off straight away, kind of Alfred Hitchcock-esque, where, he's a bit, pulling the rug from under your feet there. And then we go into this whole whodunit thing where we don't know who the killer is. And that's the whole fun of this movie, trying to guess who the killers are. And it does have one of the best Ghostface reveals, or maybe even the best, with Billy and Stu, who are just absolutely badass villains in this movie. Stu Macher, probably my favorite character in all of these films. We've got a great final girl in Sidney Prescott, who's dealing with the trauma of her mother being killed the year before, and that all intermingles with the plot. I really appreciated that whole kind of backstory there with her mother. A lot more on this rewatch. It really is well written by Kevin Williamson here, who integrates it so well into the movie and plays out so well in the reveal. Yeah, I mean, this just introduced us to Gale Weathers, Dewey, two other great characters in this film. If there's anything to be bad said about it, it's probably just most of the kills are stab kills, but you can't knock that opening, man. That opening is brutal as hell. So I can gush on all day about Scream, guys. It's absolutely amazing. When you watch it back, it's so obvious that Stu and Billy are the killers, and you kick yourself a little bit for not getting it first time. But the genius of this film in that reveal is that Wes Craven, again, pulled the rug from under your feet by having two killers. Not many movies, if any, kind of done that, before this. And that phone call from Stu saying you got the wrong guy when Billy is arrested is just absolute genius. And that's why this reveal works so well. It's a fantastic film, guys. One of the best horror movies ever made, period. That is Scream. Hey guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. What do you think of this ranking? Do you agree? Do you disagree? I know a lot of you are probably going to have Scream 7 last and Scream 5 much higher. Please do let me know your ranking down below. It'd be fun to hear all your thoughts. Don't forget to check out my other Scream reviews down below in the description and my other rankings. And thanks so much, guys. If horror is your sort of thing, please give this video a like and subscribe to this channel. It would really help me out. You all take care. I'll see you all next video.
I'll be right back.